later.
Hey guys.
Hello, Instagram and Facebook.
It is
Monday Night Live with Dean Nixon, Kate Semmens with TurningLeaf Wellness Center in St. George, Utah.
Right.
Snowy St. George, Utah.
At least it's an S. We're sticking with the same. It's
I
still an
wanted to say
alliteration.
sunny. Yeah, it is. It is. But man, it's cold out there. So excited to be joining you tonight and to get back. We had such a great response last week. It was the funnest live we've done in a few minutes.
And tell me, Dean, how many people have just stopped you and said, "Oh, hey, Dean, tell me about my dream"?
A lot. Which has been fun because I love that. I love being able to help people recognize the connection between the subconscious and what it's trying to tell us and our dream state and how it plays itself out. It's been really, really fun. So keep bringing it, people. Keep bringing it.
Well, the reason I asked too is we had one of our group members tonight say, "So I watched your guys' live and now tell me about this dream." Yes,
it was fun. It was good because it was able to really draw out some good information about it. So,
we hope, well, just by your guys' reaction, we know that you liked it. So we're like, man, we got to do more fun ones.
Yes.
More fun lives.
And we'll get those too. Well, they all should be fun.
That's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure I think they're all fun.
Yes, I agree with that.
But maybe touching on a little bit of a lighter topic.
Okay.
That's what I meant by more fun.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Which leads us to tonight's topic.
So I've been reading this book. It's called Becoming Supernatural, which sounds super juju, but I'm into all of that stuff.
That's good.
And so I was talking to Dean. We're like, what should we talk about? I was like, well, I got this thing. And so in this book, it talks about like when in your life you're kind of being directed to kind of move on, right? Like experiences happen or such that like either a chapter is closed in your life or it's just kind of feeling like, I need to move on from this situation. But for some reason, a lot of us have a really hard time like letting go of what we know to be familiar, right? And moving on into the unknown. And so we thought we would talk about it today.
Yes, it is a normal behavior for us as human beings to hang on to what is comfortable. We have a fear of discomfort. We have a fear of making mistakes. We have a fear of being wrong. So as a consequence of that, we will stick with and we will stay with the things that are more comfortable. We will stay with the things that, even though they may be super unhealthy for us or uncomfortable for us, we'll stay. And it's that concept of, I don't know what that might be like. I know what this discomfort is. I don't know what that discomfort may be. So we tend to sit in it.
Right. And so in this book, it gave an example of a man who was a vice president at a college and like kind of crushing it at his job. And then he got fired. Right. And he was like, what? And like really struggling with it. But then he got another job offer and another job, this, that, and the other, and kind of just went with the flow of life and eventually ended up being the president back at the college that fired him. So it was kind of this interesting like twist and turn, right? But for some of us, like for me, like I probably would have like dug in my heels and like petitioned for why did I get fired and tried to get my old job back, or whatever. Right. So the hard part is, in my opinion, for me, what's difficult is stepping into that unknown and trusting my higher power, the universe, that there's this flow to life, right?
Right.
So how do we do that? Like, how can we step blindly into the darkness, just waiting for the light to appear in front of us, right?
Yeah, and it's with the energy that we do it, and that's the important part, is the energy that we step forward with. And a lot of times we spend a lot of time and energy focusing on the things that we want to create for ourselves. However, it's hard for us to take that leap of faith. And when things are important for us to move forward into, what I find that things start to become more difficult to stay where you are. And the more that you fight and try to stay where you are, the more difficult they become. Until eventually you are moved forward, whether you like it or not. And I see that in relationships. I see right now working with individuals that are needing to move forward in relationships, but they're fighting and fighting and fighting because of the fear of, and the inability to control the imagination. That's one thing we're always pushing on, is we've got to control the imagination. We've got to put boundaries around that imagination. But when we're afraid to put boundaries around that imagination, the imagination runs wild. And so we start focusing on all the what ifs and the maybes, and am I going to get hurt, and who is this going to hurt, and how's it going to affect, instead of understanding that there's a door open. Step through it. If it's there for you and the door is opening, no matter how uncomfortable it could be, it is going to lead you to greater things. What I find is that the individuals that go at it with the attitude of faith and confidence and strength, and seeing it as a new chapter and a new opportunity, actually succeed in moving forward, where others may see it as adverse or a punishment or one more thing going wrong. They tend to focus and resist, and the more they focus and the more that they resist, then it becomes more of a burden, and it becomes more of a horrible existence or trial.
Interesting. I've never thought of it that way, that when life just cyclically stays hard, it's probably a sign to be moving on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I never.
Yeah.
Light bulb.
Yes. There are energies in the world. They're consistently trying to move us forward. And we're praying for them. We're begging for them. We're pleading for them. We're like, oh, help solve this. Give this to me. Help me. And it's like these continual doors are open. The funny thing about us as human beings is we want the doors to be open, but we want it to be smooth. If we could just glide through the door, if we could just kind of be carried through the door, if, somebody could just lift me across the threshold, that would be phenomenal.
That would be really. Have a huge sign,
yes,
neon sign, come through this door.
Right. But most of the
Paradise is on the other side.
But I have a lot of times where people will be like, well, is that really the answer? I can't tell if this is the answer. Well, if the door is open and you're in the energy behind you is getting more and more challenging, toxic, harder, etc., then you're meant to be stepping forward. And that's the thing as human beings. We're meant to be stepping forward, not backwards or standing still. We're meant to move forward. Everything in life is teaching us this. Everything. The fact that we age, the fact that life erodes and decays those things that we think. Nothing lasts forever. That's an important piece for us to recognize, is that then nothing lasts. Even the snowstorm that came blowing through St. George in February, weirdly enough, is gone.
Right.
And the snow that was coating us all day today is now gone. Nothing lasts forever. So if nothing lasts forever, then that means everything's constantly evolving and constantly moving. Our challenge is to stay in the moments we're in. So if we're lamenting over, well, this is uncomfortable, or I don't want to move forward, or that's scarier, or what if I make a mistake, or what if this hurts them, or what if that hurts them, then we never move forward, and we're not even in the moment that we're in. We're moving forward in a physical time level, but we're not moving forward mentally and emotionally.
I find myself sometimes getting into the doomsday prepping, right?
Yes.
Sure, maybe what I have right now is a little bit chaotic and feels difficult to manage, but what if that choice that I am thinking about making is worse?
Yeah. So I'm not going to go. I'm not going to step forward. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to stay right here. And that's the interesting thing, is that every time I see an individual try and stand still, they are moved forward regardless. They're moved forward in one form or fashion. And I see it happen in so many different ways. And individuals that will avoid dealing with things, conflict, and eventually they wind up sick or diseased or struggling because they've been shoving things down inside for so long. Now they have to move forward that way. They have to resolve, they have to move forward. Or individuals in a job where they don't want to deal with asking for a raise or pushing forward in that, but eventually the job ends, or they are forced to do things. Those are the things that are intriguing to me.
It is interesting.
Life will always move you forward, and everybody out there listening, it's true. I mean, everything's always moved you forward, and the problem is that I either go forward in a painful way where I resist, or I go forward in an uncomfortable way where I embrace. And it may be uncomfortable, but I'd rather go forward embracing the change than going kicking and screaming, being drugged behind a car, moving forward, rather than just embracing, okay, this is a shift. This is a change I've got to make.
So you mentioned that, like, the key in that is staying present, right?
Staying in the moment
that you're in.
Yeah, because if you don't, then you're going to awfulize everything, or you're going to always look back and go, man, it was better if I'd stayed there. But you're not. So why focus on where you're not? It's that my favorite is life used to be so much more simple back when I was a kid. But you're not a kid, and it's not simple. So enjoy the moment you're in.
So what are some coping skills then that we can use to stay in the moment that we're in? Because it's so easy to just let our brains kind of go on autopilot. And I think, like those of us that maybe have more of an anxiety, like we've talked about this in a number of our lives. If you tend to get a little bit more anxious, then you're forward thinking. If you tend to stay a little bit depressed, and you're probably backwards thinking instead of being in the now.
Right.
So how?
So how we do it is, so how?
How about now?
How now, brown cow? So, well, the way that we do it is we really have to shift our focus. And the main thing is the first is, what is my motivation? So like you said, if my motivation is to control the future, then I'm going to be in an anxiety state all the time. If my intention is to never get hurt again like I did in the past, then I'm going to be depressed all the time. But if I live in the moment of my intention is to live life to its fullest and be fully in every moment, then I'm going to work to do more mindfulness. The coping skill that we talk about of the 8 essential coping skills is meditation and prayer. Learning to meditate. We talk a lot about prayer is an energy guiding force. In the morning, I get on my knees and I set my intentions for the day. At the end of the day, I get on my knees and I take accountability for what I created. In between, I can meditate, pull myself into the space that I'm in, pull myself into my body, pull myself out of my head. That's a very powerful thing to do. The other one is shifting my focus. So focusing on things that I have control over, or things that bring me into the space that I'm in, focusing on what I'm wanting to create instead of what I'm wanting to avoid. So focus and meditation and prayer. The other one I always love to use is evidence gathering. Gathering the evidence of, well, life's been very uncomfortable in this space. And I remember going through this very experience myself, going through an experience where I had working at a job, very, very comfortable position. I was making good money. There was no reason for me to make a shift or a jump, but it became more and more uncomfortable. Things were becoming more and more comfortable. The environment around me was becoming a little bit more uncomfortable, and things just kept pushing me forward. And I was scared. I'm like, I ain't going. No, I'm good. This is good. Life is good. But eventually it kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me until I finally knew I had to make that shift. And I jumped into the path that I'm on today. And as a consequence of jumping into the path that I'm on today, the answers and the doors and the windows and the ceilings that opened up to me were just phenomenal. Where if I'd stayed where I was, yeah, I'd probably still be making really good money, and I'd still be in a very comfortable position, not having to do as much as I do. But man, I will tell you, I would not trade it for the life of me. And that's just that piece where you gather the evidence of, okay, well, that experience was uncomfortable and I had to move forward. So I hang on to that and I go, okay, so next time I'm in a place and I'm getting uncomfortable and I know that I need to move, I just go. I don't even think about it anymore. And then I gather the evidence of the things that are helping me and helping me move forward. And those are the things. So focus, evidence, meditation, and prayer are the coping skills that I would challenge people to use
in order to be able to stay in the now and push through following the current of life.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about meditation, can we? Because
this is a good one.
I had the idea this morning when I was reading and thinking like, I really should meditate. And today was President's Day, so didn't have to go work my social work job, right? But then the to-do list started to go in my head, right? Like I wanted to do all of these things.
Right.
So if someone is starting out in their meditation journey, like what's a good baseline time-wise when you feel like, I don't have an hour to just sit on my floor and and I'm being facetious. And I really honestly, Dean can attest, I want to be a good meditator, like so bad.
Well, I want to remind us all once again, everybody meditates. Every time you daydream, every time you allow yourself to awfulize life, every time you sit back and are driving and you're caught off, you're meditating. You already are meditating. The only problem is we're not doing productive meditation.
Yeah, I want to intentionally meditate.
Yeah, and so what I would challenge people to do is, as a beginner, one of the things that the best methodology of meditation is working on breathing. So working from your breath. So you just start to focus on your breathing. You take a breath in, you feel it. So everybody listening right now, just take a deep breath in through your nose and let it out. And then from every breath forward, you just become conscious of that breath. And as you become conscious of that breath, you start to intentionally breathe from your abdomen rather than your shoulders.
Right? Like I just did.
Right. So everybody take a deep breath. Everybody goes, like you're the doctor getting,
yes,
your lungs checked. So we want to be working to breathe from our abdomen. So we're taking a good breath in from our abdomen. We're exhaling it out of our abdomen. And we just breathe normally and naturally, and we start to focus on that breathing. And what will happen is our mind will start to focus on other things, and we just bring it back to our breath. For those starting, I would challenge you just 5 minutes.
Okay. Just
5 minutes. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and just focus on it, here and there. Then as you become a little bit more comfortable with the meditation, then you start to increase that time. I've seen meditations where we can start to really focus on mantras and repeating a mantra over and over. So we start out with the breath concept, breathing from the abdomen, and then we just start to focus on the mantra. The meditation beads that we talk about, mala beads. So for example, something along these lines, or the 108 bead sets, and you just run them through your fingers and you're quoting that mantra over and over while you're focusing on your breath and you're bringing yourself into the now. The reason I love the bracelet ones is because you can just, if you've got 5 minutes, take 5 minutes. But I think we get caught up in the concept of having to do this big elongated meditative state where sometimes you don't have that time. And what we're finding here, especially in the Western side of the world, we have a little bit more structured time, less time set aside for meditation. And so it is important to at least take the time you can. Does that help?
Yes, it does a lot. Thank you very much. Tori says hi.
Hello. Hi, Tori.
Making
sure who's tuned in. We've got quite a few tuning in, so thank you, everybody.
Well, give us a thumbs up if that makes sense to you guys, because that answered all my questions. So
yes. Does anybody have any other questions about it? Now is the time to post them. So if not, we're going to jump right in. So there might be a few people on the delay still. So you may be just catching up. So we will do our best to answer those at other times. As we get to the end of our 20 minutes, it looks like we're coming close to it. We want to thank everybody again for tuning in. If anything you found on our webisodes are helping, please make sure you like and share. On Instagram, just tag a friend. That's usually the best way to get that out there. Help us reach more people out there in Facebook world and Instagram land. And we sure love tuning in. We appreciate the feedback. And we've got a workshop coming up this weekend.
Yes, on Friday, we've got our couples and communications workshop this Friday.
So it's not just specifically for couples in like a marriage. It can be for family members or individuals that are working on communication. So I am very excited. We got some fun, cool tools we're going to be working on Friday night. So make sure that you call in, talk to Sydney, get your seat at 435-652-1202.
Not
a girl. All right.
And just so that you know, it's $25 for a single seat and $40 if you buy them in pairs. So we did a little bit of a couples discount rate. It is the last of our Valentine's love workshops. So that's the reason that we've kind of made it a couples one. But
yes. Yeah. And then the following week, we have the value-based parenting workshop. It's an all-day Saturday. Well, not all day, but
from like 10 to 5.
10 to 5 Saturday.
We feed you lunch.
Yeah.
It's delicious. It's
delicious.
Twisted Noodle.
Twisted Noodle. Come on.
Who doesn't love? I love free Twisted Noodle.
Well, good. Because you'll get it. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. And we will see you next week on
Monday Night Live.
That a girl. See y'all.
Bye.